up, y'all? It's your boy, the one and only A Switch, aka the 250 times social distancing champion, aka let me get some of that eggnog, but not the one you got. Like, give me a fresh cup though. Why is that? That shouldn't be taking me out more than it is, but it is. I can't help it. AKA that pretty motherfucker, Buddy Ugly though. AKA the nigga lip master. Bringing you yet another episode of Switches Sites. Episode 85. Today's date is December 17th, 2020. We close. I think it's technically Christmas Eve. Okay, I can't even. It's too many Eves to consider it Evie, but you know what I mean. This is the final episode of Switches Sites. It's been a fun ride, but all good things must come to an end. So that's pretty much what's gonna happen for 2020. For 2020, gotcha. So this is gonna be the last episode of 2020 of Switches Sites. We'll come back to your regularly scheduled programming in the new year. So yeah, but either way, since generally it's pretty slow in terms of news and whatnot, I doubt I don't wanna hold y'all. So as well as I feel like I need to take a break as well, take a couple weeks off, and then come back next year energized, ready, motivated. Then I'd be motivated. I gotta do it. Which one is it? Oh, no, that ain't it. Oh, shit. Now I'm motivated. Is that it? I think now I'm motivated. So I come in 2021 motivated. So yeah. So feel like I was gonna go somewhere with that, but I think that was it. I think that was as far as that apple was gonna get eaten, unless you wanted to eat the core, but I mean that's your own prerogative. Do however you see fit. I don't know. Live your life how you want to live it in respectable means. So yeah. Santa is coming to town. He got Christmas presents. He looking for them cookies. And by golly, you better have some milk to wash it down, or there's gonna be hell to pay. Y'all didn't know that story about Santa. I mean, girl did. I did, but you didn't. But that's besides the point. Yeah. So again, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but for some people maybe. Even though these are good times, let's not forget about the the surreal times we're still in right now, that we're still under the pandemic. Of course, yeah, there are, we do have confirmation of vaccine for the virus, but at the same time, that's going to be a long time until it's at least projected that will make it to the general public. So that is not is not a key, not a initiation or key to be like, oh well, I can go back to normal life now. No, people. We're still like breaking records of people dying. It's all bad, man. But you know what? I mean, there is somewhat of a light. Excuse me, at the end of a tunnel. But stay safe. Keep it safe. Even though we at the end of it, but we're still not at the same time. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. But not to bring down the tone, but just to keep people's best interests in mind, if that makes sense. So but man, in terms of this week, boy, a lot of stuff has been happening this week, at least specifically in the gaming front. Man, Cyberpunk, huh? Boy, man, if that hasn't been a dumpster fire, I don't know what else was. But there was that. Just today we had the Sephiroth showcase. The Godfather Sakurai showed them. So we have a lot of stuff to discuss and cover on this final episode of Switch's Sights for 2020. Also, I had to bring it back. Top 10 games of 2020. I did that. I did the contemplation. And, I mean, maybe if you check my Twitter often, you may know the answer, but probably don't. Maybe you do. I don't know. Nonetheless, let's stop the dilly-dallying and get right into it before I take a sip or after I take a sip. Stay hydrated, by the way. Keep your H2O on deck, preferably. I mean, First topic, boy. So, Cyberpunk. For those that may be unaware, dropped last week. Man, time is just feeling weird right now. Dropped last week, and not the best scenario if you are playing on base PS4 and Xbox One consoles, since it's been pretty evident that the game runs like horse, dog, shit, doo-doo if you are playing on those consoles. Generally better with each, iteration, with the, Pro being a little bit better, and Pro and Xbox One X being a little bit better, and then PS5 and Xbox Series X being the best technically when it comes to the console front. But then at the same time, it's like odds are you don't have one, so it's like, where does that get you? And then even then, it's not even the best then, because it's not the optimized versions that are soon, well, not soon, but going to come out at some point down the line, next year, presumably. So, So with that being said, it's pretty obvious now why, because there were murmurings and talks like as to why a lot of the media and press reviewers of the game only got the PC version and not the console versions at all. So come to find out, this is why. That clearly CD Projekt Red, whoever was responsible for making this decision, did that very deliberately to kind of obfuscate, hide how horrible the base console versions are. So, as you would expect, that caused a whole dumpster fire. The pitchforks came out. The torches were lit as well. So, and then what did that get you? Now CD Projekt Red is looking very sus. So, you know, it's like, what do you do? But I mean, it's like they they could have been, when you think about it, they could have they could have just been clearly honest about it, because I feel like in the long run it would have prevented the outrage for people who bought it excited, hoping it was going to be great. But, getting in some cases where it's just basically unplayable, I believe it's definitely just running very poorly, and in some cases I hear some people aren't even able to launch it, in some cases crashing and things like that. So, and that's kind of across the board for the most part. Console wise, I think PC has been a bit better. At least personally, I put like 15ish hours, I want to say, into it so far, and haven't necessarily had any like detrimental issues outside of it was one instance like starting out when I would go to the car, but the car would not move when I pressed the appropriate control to get the car to accelerate. And I tried switching the controller back to keyboard and did not work at all. And then I had to literally reload a checkpoint. There were some other instances that seemed a little iffy, but I think it was more so user error of not being aware of how the game works. Where at least I initially thought it was the game, but at least it was, I think after the fact, it was more so me that I'm just broken. I'm broken as a person. So that's another discussion for I'm playing. But yeah, so with all that being in mind, I believe CD Projekt Red, they released a statement saying, asking people that purchased the console versions of Cyberpunk, to refund them to their respective places. People who got it digitally through PlayStation, Xbox, to get it refunded through them. But lo and behold, basically it was more so just telling you just as a person, and not with the backing and I guess mutual understanding amongst Sony, Xbox, um, Sony, Microsoft, in terms of this is an official refund, but just a refund on your own personal basis and not on the basis of Cyberpunk being unplayable, basically. So that caused a whole nother issue. So there's a lot of stories of people, reaching out to PlayStation and Xbox support, saying, "Hey, I want to refund Cyberpunk and it's not playable," blah blah blah. But then people just giving you the standard, sorry, we can't do that. We're not going to refund you, blah blah blah. So then that caused a whole kerfuffle, and then I think Cyberpunk went in the whole thing then saying that they were going to now you have to wait until they patch the game. So they basically backtracked on what they initially said. So it's a hot mess, man. It is a hot, pure, unadulterated mess. Let me tell you. So, it's messed up. It really is. So, yeah, that's been good. Then I believe there was some like murmurings in terms of the like investor calls for CD Projekt Red, where they just literally are just backstepping in a lot of their statements in regards to refund policies and stuff like that. So it's they not looking good right now, especially this being like for sure one of the most hyped up games I can at least recall, like insane amounts of being hyped up, that to not deliver on that, if you're playing on console specifically, um is messed up, man. Just be a good company, just own up if you gotta own up. But I guess we'll talk a little bit more about the game in of itself in terms of my impressions of it so far, which may or may not add to this topic. But either way, if you happen to get the console version and you're playing on the base consoles, it is probably it's for sure not the best way. And then the reviews, the console reviews of the game are atrocious all around. I think IGN gave it a 4. I think it's their lowest, even lower than some other games because of this and stuff like that. So all bad, man. Do better, CD Projekt Red. Do better. Do better. Moving on. Man, let's talk about Twitch, shall we? Let's talk about the platform. Coincidentally streaming on right now, but weird, man. So Twitch all of a sudden is now banning the terms simp, incel, and virgin in a derogatory sense. I guess if you say it in a basic sense, it's okay somewhat, but if you're using it offensively, it's against the terms of service. It's confusing. So yeah, it's why I guess. And my biggest, it's not necessarily. I mean, partially it is, but at the same time, it's like I feel like there are there are higher priority stuff that Twitch should be focusing on rather than these specific terms. I mean, it's a lot of other stuff like the music, DMCA stuff going on right now, and it's just it just seems to be some slight tone deafness, to be honest, and yeah, just that, as well as just the weirdness of at least the perceived lack of priorities in terms of the bigger issues and things like that. But I understand it to some extent, but at the same time, it's like, really, I guess. But okay. But I mean, apparently to be considerate, some of these terms are offensive to certain people. So I mean, I get that, of course, but it's like, I don't know, man. That's just weird. It's what? Oh, oh no, baby, what is you doing? Moving on. That character that everybody loves, and admittedly, some people may want to do some extra stuff too if they weren't 2D or 3D and more real life person. But I don't think this person would exist in real life. But who knows? Maybe there is a person, and that person who I'm talking about is Sephiroth, the white-haired angel, or shall I say, one-winged angel. So Nintendo had the I don't even know what the term you call it, but basically I guess somewhat of a mini direct, not necessarily, but in-depth look at Sephiroth as the character in terms of how he will play in Smash, which was pretty informative. So they showed a lot of his capabilities. He does look, it's some aspects where I'm thinking he seems to be kind of OP, at least initially. I guess it's yet to be determined if he actually is like top tier as a Smash character. This is somebody who's not like deep into the Smash Brothers scene, but having some fair knowledge of characters and matchups and OP characters and some resemblance of tears, but yeah, at least from the capabilities that were shown in the showcase, it seems like Sephiroth does have a lot of pretty potentially very powerful moves in the right hands, of course. So, but I guess a couple aspects to add on top of that. Um, Man, that's one thing we do definitely need to address. It seems like every Smash in-depth character direct, whatever you want to call it, they always include a uh they it's got to be some term for this, but basically the uh the bad news me's. That's probably the best way to bad news me costumes, because they almost always have a character that at least somebody was rooting for to get in the Smash, since the common general deduction is that if a character is revealed as a me fighter, they pretty much aren't gonna be a Smash fighter at some point. It, at least as far as we know it, there has not been a character that's been both a me fighter costume as well as a Smash character in the game. So, and I mean, as somebody who's not like a big fan, but is very aware of like the fervor and like desire and want and need of having this character, but it hurts though. I feel the pain collectively for those fans. But of amongst the me fighters, they revealed Barrett from Final Fantasy VII as a me gunner costume, Tifa, which actually I think that's fairly depressing for some people, because I know a lot of people wanted Tifa over Sephiroth, or if there was another Square Enix character. And then probably the biggest hurt, the biggest ooh, was Gino. Gino got revealed as a me fighter, or me gunner character, and I know that crushed a lot of people, because I think that's probably one of the biggest ones that I think people wanted, especially I think if you even go by the character most wanted fighter list. I know, if you kind of omit some of the other people like Goku and stuff, that at least I know Sakurai outright deconfirmed that would ever be a character. But oof, that I felt that as not as a non-fan, somebody who's got his dream crush with Travis Touchdown being reverted to a just a me fighter as well. So something's better than nothing, I guess. But I mean, rather have something more. But that hurts. I'm sorry, Geno fans. I wholeheartedly apologize for not having your dreams fulfilled. But who knows? Maybe this is like a deliberate red herring, and like the last character just ends up being like Gino, and then everybody's like, "Oh shit, they defied the rules of the somewhat unwritten rules of Smash, where if there's a me fighter, that they can't be a Smash character as well." So who knows? But man, that just had to touch on that. Just my sentiments, my condolences for the odds that are even lesser now. But at the same time, I feel like that also opens up the, I guess, possibility that it could potentially be that Gino may be a character at some point, because of the fact that they at least verified that they were able to get the licensing and everything going. But maybe that wasn't necessarily the issue, but I thought it was because of the company that made that game, that there was some funkiness in terms of licensing to try to get that going off the ground or whatever. I don't know. But there's still hope if there's probably one character that could defy that rule. And, knowing Sakurai, I could see him being the type to try to defy that and maybe get our sense off of the speculation and possibility that he could actually be a character. Who knows? But we'll see. Only time will tell. I mean, we still got I believe three more characters left of this battle pass. If there, maybe another season of battle pass as well, I wouldn't doubt that, because that's like, this game is like just money, in all fronts. But to focus back on the details of that direct, I mean, yeah, just his moves. He's got like a lot of cool projectile moves, and yeah, and then his sword is so long. It's so long. That's what she said. But it's he has a lot of potential for sure. At least from initially seeing it. But one cool thing, they also revealed the music soundtracks as well. So the weirdness of having Cloud included, but he only had like I think two or three songs, but now it seems like they helped mitigate that now that they added like 9 more songs to, I guess, the Final Fantasy song collection. Didn't Unfortunately, didn't get no rotten pizza in there. Would have liked some of that rotten pizza, but you know what? I mean, they got Genova, they got some of the other classics in there. I heard that one of one of the tracks is remixed by the god himself, Yuzo Koshiro. So I mean, that in of itself, man, that got me looking forward to it. You know what I'm saying? But that's also one thing. That's still making me. I noticed Yuzo Koshiro is including a lot of these remixes, which I don't know. Just the third eye in me suspects that it's gotta be some. It's gotta be some Streets of Rage love in there. Just give me some Streets of Rage love. Just come on. Just Sakurai. Just put Axel in there, and you can do a me what do you call it, Echo Fighter of freaking Adam, and then you can put Blaze in there. Even they have different properties and slightly different moves. Man, I think that could happen. The possibilities of that happening, at least now, is pretty probable. I say they haven't been included as a me fighter me costume. I would love it personally, but I don't know if the grand masses would. But I digress. They also showed the stage, which is basically the final stage of Final Fantasy VII, which is pretty cool. It's like how you went into it. It seems like it goes throughout the whole like story of that last part of the game, which is pretty dope. So yeah, looking forward to that as well. But all in all, Sephiroth is looking dope. On top of that, I think he has this cool one-winged mechanic where it seems to be like a comeback mechanic, at least what it's somewhat implied as. It's like random but comeback like, where I believe they said like if somebody has a higher stock than you, I think the odds are greater that you'll get it. But if you're in the advantage, the odds are less that you will get it, and it seems to like amplify a lot of your attributes and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of interesting potential. Maybe some that might potentially lean towards OP, but obviously time will tell if that's the case. But all in all, man, I'm looking forward to him. It's one character, I guess. I think I just wrote off that like, that'll never happen, especially how it was perceived that like stingy Square Enix was with their, I don't know, sharing of assets of the character. Consider, how Cloud only has like a very limited amount of clothing options and stuff like that, but it seems like this is kind of somewhat of a redemption, if you will, of, I don't know, assets and things like that. So that's pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I forgot of the pretty dopest thing of it all is that they also are doing a special event where technically Sephiroth is going to drop December 25th. But with this challenge that is dropped today, you could basically play against Sephiroth in a battle, and if you win, you get to play him early, which is pretty cool. So if you're pretty much a sucky Smash character, well, maybe you might have to wait, but at least from what I'm seeing, people are already unlocking them already on very hard and stuff. I'm not sure if there's you have to beat them on very hard. I doubt it. I think you just have to beat them, but it's pretty cool. It's kind of interesting. Sakurai said that like if they were thinking of doing a concept where you only get one chance or something like to beat them, and if you don't, you have to wait until 22nd. That would have been way more brutal, I think. But pretty cool. I'm definitely about to beat his ass. You hear me? I'm about to whoop his ass. Sephiroth, I'm about to whoop your ass for what, the third time in the history of Final Fantasy. If we're factoring in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So but pretty dope. I have to say. Bravo, Sakurai. You weirded us out with Steve from Minecraft, but you brought us back in with Sephiroth. God damn it, Sakurai. You and your techniques, they're so great. Moving on. So there was an interview with Doug Bowser, I still marvel at how perfect of a candidate he was, that he has the Bowser. And we all know he changed his name to Bowser because he knew this would happen. But I digress. He had an interview with Polygon in regards to, some various interesting topics that were touched on, at least specifically, COVID, in terms of the challenges that kind of arose from that, and just a couple things I wanted to highlight, at least specifically regarding Joy-Con drift. I'm trying to find it. I know he said some very rushed off answer, or non-answer, if you will. Let's try. Actually, we'll touch on COVID real quick. So in terms of the question, looking back, when did you realize COVID was going to be a big change for basically everyone in the game industry? So I want to paraphrase. I don't want to read the whole thing, but we were very in close contact with state and local governments in the areas we have our offices and facilities. So that would be Washington State, California, New York State, and then of course in Canada, both Toronto and BC. Very closely watching, and one thing I know he touched on was that we never had a contingency plan for a pandemic situation, which was interesting because it's kind of crazy. You would assume they have a preparation for everything, but it's even most people that have preparation for everything, they don't have a preparation for specifically a pandemic, which is crazy, but I believe it. There was something. Oh yeah, this was a big one. With the Disney Vault mentality, where some of the games like Fire Emblem and Super Mario, the Super Mario 3D All Stars, where they're gonna be removed from the eShop after March 31st. So this was a pretty interesting one I was curious about because it's like, why would you do that? Just doesn't make sense. Um, so in regards to that, he said, "I let me get my PR speak on this." Yeah, I think I used the simple word celebration. This is a celebration of Mario's 35th anniversary, and we wanted to celebrate in unique and different ways. And we've done that through games like Super Mario 3D All Stars, or we will be doing that through future releases, such as Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. And then we've also done it through releases such as Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers, or through Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. There are various ways that we're celebrating Mario's 35th. And with some of these titles, we felt it was an opportunity to release them for a limited period of time. They've done very, very well. Can't do it. Super Mario 3D All Stars has sold over 2.6 million units in the US alone. And so clearly, consumers have been able to jump in and enjoy that. And it's not strategy that we're going to be using widely, but it's one we thought was very unique for the actual anniversary. Yeah, that sounds like a whole bunch of bullshit, but you know what? I mean, one thing to keep in mind though, Nintendo of America is like, I believe they said they're more so for marketing and sales, so they don't generally make the big decisions. Since the Disney Vault mentality was presumably made by Nintendo Japan, who's the main head honcho when it comes to making these bigger decisions like these. So one thing to keep in mind that not to necessarily blame Doug Bowser for all this, but I mean it's gonna happen at some point. But that's interesting. You think they're gonna do more limited time games? I think so. I think they're gonna do it. I think Zelda is gonna have their anniversary next year, so I totally see them doing like a Legend of Zelda collection in there. It's gonna be the same Disney Vault mentality, where it's just gonna be very you know limited time. I unfortunately see that happening, as much as I don't want it to happen, but I see them doing it again. There was one about Joy-Con drift. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about, I know it's kind of a four-letter word, but Joy-Con drift. Obviously, Nintendo, a long reputation of really strong hardware, blah, 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 blah. So his response, first and foremost, we want every consumer to have a great experience with their Nintendo Switch and with the games they play on Nintendo Switch. That's of utmost importance to us. Our mission is to put smiles on faces, and we want to make sure that happens. If consumers have any issue with our hardware and or software, we want them to contact us. when we when we will work through the proper solution to get them up and running as fast as possible. Specific to the Joy-Cons themselves, we've been working very closely with consumers if and when they might have issues, whether it's a replacement or repair. And then what I will say, as we look at our repair cycles, we're always looking at what is being sent in and for what reasons, and understanding that better. And without going into any details, it always gives us an opportunity to make improvements as we go forward. So, but definitely a lot to take from this. At least those are the two big ones that stood out. But overall, pretty insightful interview in regards to the direction, even though it seems like the consensus is a kind of dancing around the tough questions and a lot of non-answers and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's not the head of Nintendo, and probably maybe knows all those answers. But who knows? Um. Oh yeah. Speaking of Nintendo, Monster Hunter Rise, which is coming to the Switch next year. There was some info regarding that also. Really hoping they fix that Joy-Con drift with the Switch. Yeah, man. They really do. Let's hope. Let's hope. So there was some leaks in regards to, I believe some leaker in regards to it, but this was from the Capcom leaks like a month, even a couple weeks back. That huge like leak from all Capcom stuff, but some interesting facts, or well, I mean, could be facts that obviously grain of salt, but a lot of bullet points, specifically in regards to the exclusivity, because I know there were initially rumors that Rise for the Switch would come to PC, but it seems like that's somewhat validated in these leaks as well, where I think it's timed exclusivity, where it's going to be exclusive to the Switch for 9 months and then come to the PC after that. So, but in regards to the frame rate, there will be a 30 FPS limit, 60 FPS limit, FPS fluctuation, essentially no upper limit option, which I'm not sure what that means, but maybe that might line up with the possible Switch Plus, Switch Pro, upgraded Switch. At least that may come out next year. I still think this is definitely going to be a launch title with that new Switch, if that is true. But I don't know. Considering like how this Monster Hunter game is going to run off the RE engine, and like considering how much of a pain, or it seemed like that wasn't possible. I feel like to some extent there's going to be another Switch, a power Switch or super Switch, or maybe even just a dock specifically that will boost the Switch to some extent. I don't know. It's got to be something, but PC games support variable refresh rate as G-Sync, FreeSync, monitor output resolution. Yeah. So I guess this is pretty much just validates that it will be likely a PC game, considering all these options: ultra wide monitor support, full screen window mode. Yeah. So that's I think is a given. So I guess that's the biggest takeaway, is that it's probably for sure gonna be a PC game release at some point. If these rumors are valid. So cool. I'm down for that. I would double dip willingly. Monster Hunter, I'm double dipping. You hear me? I'm double dipping. I'm a double dip. Moving on. Nintendo also still, I'm keeping that Nintendo train going. Choo choo. Nintendo had a mini indie direct. Was it yesterday or Tuesday? One of those days. But they had a couple indie stuff, indie titles announced. Spelunky 1 and 2. What was another one? Super Meat Boy Forever. What was another one that stood out at least? Those are the only ones that come to mind, at least, that I was like, oh, okay. But of course, the biggest one that out of nowhere, Uh, whoever set this up, they knew what they were doing. Because right when you thought, oh, okay, that was all right. That was, I guess that was okay. It wasn't anything. I was like, I was dying to want to play, but out of nowhere, towards the end, well, thank you all for coming to Nintendo Direct. Out of nowhere, you hear the Among Us emergency meeting beep. He's like, oh, wow. And instantly I was like, oh shit, wow, okay, they're doing it. And of course, yeah, sure enough, Among Us on Switch, the first console version of Among Us, is coming on Switch. Also, they did confirm that it is crossplay with PC and mobile as well. So that's also a great thing too. So because that definitely would be a big boon against the Switch if it was segregated from PC and mobile. But that's a huge plus, as well as like when you think about it, I think that adds a whole nother element to the experience of Among Us, like the fact that you can play locally with, like, if you have like 9 other friends with Switches or whatever, and I could see that being pretty fun. So right, yeah, I assume most people are probably just gonna resort to Discord anyway, since that seems to be the general like uh consensus that most people use Among Us for, at least in my experience anyway. So I don't see that being a huge issue, but it would be helpful though. But I know at least most people who play maybe like matchmaking Among Us use keyboards and just chat that way. But not being a huge Among Us fan myself, I do appreciate the game. I don't play it that much, but that's pretty big though. Considering how huge that game is, that's a big get for Nintendo, just to have that on the go and being able to play online, as well as I think the local aspect is pretty much the most interesting part. Even though I guess technically the likelihood of most people with mobile phones would have that going, but that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Cool stuff out of nowhere though. You just I didn't expect that at all. But hey, get into that Shinji Mikami though. Shinji Mikami news. In a recent interview with Variety, Shinji Mikami, for those that may not know, the Godfather that made one of the best franchises of all time, Resident Evil, stated that he will return as director if he gets to make a game that is completely envisioned by him. So, I guess he said The Evil Within would be his last project as director. I believe, I guess technically, with Nightwire, Tokyo Nightwire, whatever. I think that was also, he technically wasn't gonna direct that, but I think he's starting to direct it now because the one apprentice I think he had, I think Akumi Nakamura, she went. I forgot where she actually went now. I thought she went to Ubisoft maybe or some other company, but I don't know. But yeah. So pretty much after that, yeah. I mean, I would love it. But then I think the infamous Capcom leaker, Dust Golem, he did pretty much. Well, I know he doesn't know, but I think the odds are pretty great from what he was saying in terms of like, considering that Tango is now under Microsoft, it's pretty likely that he's gonna. And considering how they've been so far with a couple of the other development companies as well, I think it's pretty likely that he's gonna get the green light to make a game that he just wants, and I am all for that. I want every inch of that, however it is. Yeah, boy, if it's God Hand 2, boy, I would lose it. I would lose it every damn inch. You hear me? Every damn inch. I ain't gonna lie. Switch 2, I think the Switch is probably gonna come probably March, either March, if not March, probably May. It seems like that's like Nintendo's general cadence to release a console lately. I mean, maybe it could be fall, considering like the PS5 and Xbox Series X came out this year. I could see that too, but I think odds are, I see it, March or May, in that, either in that time frame. I think no, because in terms of because yeah, like Nintendo generally hasn't announced. They generally haven't announced. They generally announce their consoles with very short turnaround time before they're released. Because I think the Nintendo Switch. I'm trying to remember when that got announced. Did that get announced in September? I gotta look that up. I'm very curious. Nintendo Switch. Yeah, that was January. Yeah, so the Nintendo Switch got announced in January 13th, supposedly. And then, yeah, it came, I remember it came out in March. So yeah, that's like roughly 3 month turnaround time. So you can expect the same cadence, I think, for this new Switch revision. Yeah, so we might hear some January, maybe February, and then yeah, I see it possibly dropping. Yeah, either yeah within that 3 month gap of like March to May, I could see that happening for sure. Yeah, because I feel like yeah, I mean especially the rumors of with the Switch, they're asking for it to be they're asking the developers to make the games 4K ready, and stuff I've been hearing about, like how the Nvidia chip that's currently in all the Switches can be has some techniques to use DLSS to upscale games to 4K and stuff like that. I think it's pretty likely. I'd be surprised if it doesn't, or if there's some type of I don't know, way to do that. But I definitely see it happening. Um, just I think it's a matter of when, if anything. But please, Shinji Mikami, God Hand 2, you know what to do, boo boo. It's the literal title. God Hand 2, you know what to do, boo boo. I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess. Heard about that too. Just wondering if they're gonna do like Switch Pro this year and then another console like 2 years from now. I think the Switch has a good, reasonable amount of life in it. I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be. Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be a Switch Pro, some like mid gen refresh, but not alienate the previous current console Switch owners. So I think it's definitely going to be like, like a PS4 Pro, Xbox One X. I definitely see that. And then, yeah, probably, yeah, 2-3 years from now, then it'd be a whole new Switch. I see that. I really would want it to be a Nintendo Super Switch. That just is, it just rolls off the tongue so well. That's just a missed opportunity if that's not. But yeah, definitely looking for Shinji Mikami. Please, Shinji, God Hand 2. I'm looking at Reset Era. So I said, God Hand 2, God Hander. I kind of want that too. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So keeping in Resident Evil news, as a disclaimer, yeah, man, Nintendo always dropping L's. Really, to be honest, if we being honest, there was presumably a mass leak in terms of the story of Resident Evil 8. So just FYI, watch where you're going and some of these sites, hell, even YouTube, you know, it's been crazy. Not lately, at least, but it's been crazy how spoilery YouTube has been gotten somewhat recently. But just an FYI in that respect. But yeah, in terms of one of those details, though, there were details regarding an online portion of Resident Evil 8 called, at least specifically in this case, Village Online, where it showed packs with certain character skins, boosters, but also showed I think there was some evidence that it would tie with Resident Evil Revelations 3, which is the that was pretty heavily rumored. So I'm just trying to like fathom what that looks like. Cause I mean, I hope one thing I hope it's not Resident Evil Resistance, because I wasn't really a fan of that, because I think part of it was like, oh yes, Resident Evil Outbreak is back, but no, that was not it at all. It was it was it was just some weird gamification of Resident Evil, which I know that's weird to say considering that Resident Evil is already a game, but it just wasn't Outbreak. I guess that was my gripe with it, as a huge fan of Outbreak, obviously, but yeah. But then they're saying they've been studying free to play games like Warzone, Apex Legend, and Fortnite. So it's like then it would be like, would it be a battle royale zombie game? Which is just, that does not sound like that's gonna go together. That sounds like jelly and jelly and petroleum jelly. That just doesn't sound like that would taste good at all. But I don't know. I'd be lying to say I would not try it out regardless. But I'm very cautiously optimistic in terms of how that's gonna play. Class-based zombie battle royale, that kind of makes that more enticing, to be honest. Class-based specifically, I guess, still reverting back to Resident Evil Outbreak, but just come on, Capcom, just give us Resident Evil Outbreak. That game was way ahead of its time. In this day and age climate, I think Resident Evil Outbreak, you know what, maybe the pandemic, I kind of get it, at least in that extent. Maybe, I mean, maybe they're trying. I mean, I could see that angle, but I mean, title aside, come on, Capcom, just this one time. I remember I was unfortunately, man, I still can't believe that happened, but basically earlier in this year, I got to playtest RE8, and I was straight up hyping the hell out of Resident Evil Outbreak, because they were asking us questions like, "What game do you like to play?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love RE Outbreak." Yeah, or what game you were currently playing, and I said that, and I was like, saying we basically just promoting Resident Evil Outbreak, and just reminding, like, guys, Capcom, please bring RE Outbreak back. Man, I'm gonna still vouch for that game, I swear. But yeah, yeah, it's hard to fathom what this game will look like. I guess that's my issue. Trying to fathom what this game would look like, where I would like it. That's probably a better way to explain it. Where it won't be bad. Where it won't be another Umbrella Corps or Operation Raccoon City, or I feel like there was another one. Failed Resident Evil Online games. Raid mode was pretty cool for Resident Evil Revelations 2. I did like that. That was pretty addictive. But Outside of that, I don't know. I don't know. Keeping in that zombie survival, zombies. Yeah, I guess basically just zombie. But Back4Blood, the game that was announced. I mean, even though we knew about it before Game Awards, but it was dormant for a while, but is now revived. The alpha dropped. I am they didn't choose me. I wasn't chosen. I think it's because I registered late. I registered the day before they were going to shoot out people keys. I think that probably fought against me, but there were, I believe, a couple of details in regards to it that we didn't know, at least previously. 8 playable characters. I guess the enemies are called the Ridden, or is that the? Yeah, the Ridden is funny. On somebody made a comment on the reset error in the particular thread that Kool-Aid, the Ridden. How many more names can we come up for not zombies? Which is very true. It's like, man, walkers. I think the Zed was one. I forgot where that came from. Wasn't Daywalk? No, I'm thinking of Blade. Actually, I'm curious. Now I want to look at a list. List of names for zombies in media. Let's specify it. Zombie nicknames. Is the list that big? Zoms. Walker. Hungries. Wow. Hungries. White Walkers. I guess. I mean, that's Game of Thrones. I don't know. They didn't. I guess. Yeah, they are really zombies when you. Yeah. Warm bodies. Fleshies. Yeah. Oh, I guess the World War Z used a wide range of names. I thought it was Zed. Ghouls, Saifu, Zach, Zed heads, and G's. I guess. The infected. Yeah, that was okay. Not as many as I thought, but Stankos. I kind of like that one. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So, they also announced the game director details, but I mean the game director. I know that came directly from Left 4 Dead because I know they mentioned that in like their promotional trailers before that game came out. So that's cool. I did like the game director. It did definitely make every playthrough unique and different, and interesting to keep that going. The card system was pretty cool. I think it at least it reminded me initially at least of Titanfall. I guess because I really enjoyed that system, but I don't think necessarily like that. I know Titanfall was more so for giving you a buff rather than challenge you, which at least it seems like in this game there's a lot. There's I guess ones for both ends where I know there's one card where you get more, you find more ammo, and then there was some other ones where you there are more zombies that come at you or something like that, or there are more zombies that come in general. So that definitely I think has a lot of potential to mix the game up and keep it more interesting and engaging with, each playthrough too. So definitely looking forward to that um as well. But yeah, I thought I was gonna get in that alpha. I guess there's always the beta that'll probably come like, a couple months before. And it's pretty somewhat close. I think it's coming out in June. So not necessarily too long to wait, but would like to play it. But I'll just cry. I'll just cry. I think that covers pretty much all the news all the news for 2020. Probably gonna be more news. Let's be honest. But so with this being the last episode of the year, thought I'd do and bring the annual personal top 10 games of the year. Personally, my opinion, of course. So let's count it down, let's bring it up. So number 10, I had some debate. I guess a couple things before I start too. I did not play Hades. Did not get a chance to play Hades. I have it, but I've not gotten around to playing it. I don't really feel like I could justify putting Cyberpunk on this list based specifically off the fact that I'm just started playing it. I'm like 15-ish hours in, so didn't really feel confident just putting that in there and not completing the game and, what have you. So I guess those are really two big things to note, really. But I am pretty happy that I played pretty much majority of the games that are for most people on game of the year list and things like that too. So with all that in mind, let's start with I gotta do a better voice. Number 10. Number 10. Okay, I felt like I cut off the echoiness of that too abruptly, so I had to let that breathe. So that would be Animal Crossing. I know, I'm like, hey, you a grown ass man, what you doing playing Animal Crossing? I mean, let's be honest, we know a lot of adult men play Animal Crossing. They just don't want to admit it, but I'll admit it. I enjoyed it. All right. I pretty much played, man, it was like, I think it was 40 hours for me. I know that's kind of an ongoing game, more or less, but I felt like after I got a KK Slider to visit my village, I felt like, all right, that's it. That's the game. That's, for me personally, I felt that's beating the game. I know there's a lot more nuance and like intricacies to it, but for me, that felt like beating the game, which, I might revisit it now with the holidays and stuff, because it's been a while. Man, them weeds about to be frequent. It's just a lot more work, but either way, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's very relaxing, and yeah, it's a game I never. This is my first Animal Crossing I played. That it just screams delightful, if that makes sense. Just like weirdly calming, relaxing, delightful, all in one game, which I found that very refreshing as somebody who's not played this type of game before. So that's why I felt it deserved the spot at number 10. And at number 9, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. So, as a huge Tony Hawk Thug fan, or that's redundant because that's the acronym, but Tony Hawk's Underground fan, I've been a fan of Tony Hawk. Well, I never played the later ones, but with all that being said, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 is I think it had a lot to prove, considering the reputation Tony Hawk built with like Pro Skater 5. I know that's horrendous ride and all the other ones that came after, but this one was pretty damn fun. As somebody who hasn't, I actually never played the original Tony Hawk and 2, so I was like, okay, this is a pretty good excuse, and it brought some of the elements from the later games into it, but kept it pretty reasonable and kept that balance of not overhauling it too much to kind of take away from the identity of the original games, which I think it did a great job of in keeping that balance. So that is why I have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 at number 9. Also, the online was pretty fun too. It definitely had a lot of the classic modes I remember from Thug as well. So, yes. Coming at no, I did too early. Coming at number, damn it. Coming at number 8. Resident Evil 3 Remake. I have a lot of gripes with this game, but depending on how you look at it, Resident Evil 3 Remake was still a pretty good game on its own merit. Looking from a nostalgic perspective of playing the previous games, that's where I do have a lot of issues. But as a game on its own merit, not having any recollection of the original, I think you wouldn't have any issues or gripes against this game as much as I did. Keeping those in mind, I mean, the game is very short. They did cut a lot of stuff from the original that I wasn't a fan of, but at the same time, they did some new interesting aspects. Nemesis was pretty disappointing as an enemy, but some of the set piece moments were still pretty cool, and it was pretty awesome to see some of the crossover between Resident Evil 2, and vice versa, and how some of those events kind of played through both modes, both games. So it's definitely still a great supplemental piece to Resident Evil 2, and vice versa. Playing both of these games one after another, I think lessens the blow from Resident Evil 3. But all in all, I mean, I played it multiple times, so I mean, what does that say? I still enjoyed it, but I do have my gripes, but I can't say I didn't enjoy it still. So that is why Resident Evil 3 Remake deserves the number 8 spot. Next game on the list, the number 7, Ghost of Tsushima. This game, I mean, at least initially looking at it, it looked very good, and boy, it did not fail in that aspect. At least playing it on a really awesome HDR big screen display, and I had a pretty good time with Ghost of Tsushima. At least playing throughout the game and all the other elements, it didn't necessarily ask too much of you in terms of collectibles and various items. It's one of the very few games I actually went and did everything and got a platinum, which is very as of late, pretty rare for me and for most games. So I feel like it did something right in that aspect. And the combat was pretty fun. Like the standoffs, even though it had some funny glitches as well. But all in all, even the insane loading times for a PS4 game, mind you, this was definitely a next gen game before next gen, which I think that definitely accounts for something. So that is why Ghost of Tsushima is number 7. And number 6 game is Spider-Man Miles Morales. As thoroughly enjoying the original Spider-Man in 2018. Um, Having Miles Morales, a man of color, superhero, as a character in his own game. I mean, it does peanut butter go with jelly? I mean, do you put marshmallows and chocolate together to get s'mores? You know what I mean? So that was a given. But on top of that, when you play this game, specifically on PS5, at least I can attest to, but the game is gorgeous. I was playing on performance mode, and the game does a really good job of giving you a message in terms of, taking the mantle and, kind of reverting back to Peter's, infamous quote, great power, great responsibility. I totally truncated that, but you know what I mean. But also improving the mechanics from the original game and making it way more fun. Like a lot of Miles's Venom moves are pretty awesome and a great addition, and even also makes the game more engaging and interesting in terms of combat flexibility as well. So as well as the story, where I teared up a bit towards the end because it I ain't gonna lie, it got me. But all in all, great experience. Love the game. So that is why it is number 6. And the number 5 game is Demon Souls Remake. As somebody who played the original, at least fairly recently before this one came out, like I think 2 years or so before, I guess, relatively speaking, considering when the game originally came out, I guess. At least that's my kind of barometer. But playing it before and having a good sense of all the changes they made, this game was great. And especially from the graphical department, game is gorgeous. It is a very exemplary showing of the PS5's, capabilities. It is like the quintessential perfect launch title, probably one of the strongest launch titles of a console I can think of. At least recently for sure. It definitely added to the I guess appeal, the greatness. Let's say the greatness that awaited. PS5 need to start paying the greatness that awaited of PS5 because it delivered. It also kept that balance in terms of with any remake where it's like where you change too much, where you take away from the identity and essence of the original game. But I don't think this game did that. This game definitely respected the previous game, the previous developers from software and stuff, Blue Point Games. They definitely did a wonderful job. They really did. I was as I died repeatedly, I was smiling because the graphics look so good. So that attests for something. My especially the fast loading times as well. Just a lot of quality of life improvements. You don't have to freaking when you're over encumbered with items. You don't have to fully transport back and then get the items again. You can actually directly transport the items to storage. All that combined. That is why Demon Souls is at number 5. And at number 4. I don't know why I'm breathing. I don't know why I'm breathing that. I breathed in when I said that. Number 4. The Last of Us Part 2. I had a lot of internal debate about this, but for a lot of reasons, but I mean, of course, mainly being the story, mainly for, you know, some of the decisions in the story. Not gonna spoil them here, but I can't, at least reflecting back, I thoroughly did enjoy the gameplay of The Last of Us Part 2. And it from a story's perspective, I definitely give Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann a lot of respect in regards to the very, very, very bold decisions they made in the game. And doing something at least I'd never personally experienced before in a game from that story's perspective in a lot of aspects. So I think that in of itself, I feel warrants number 4. That's all I'm gonna say about that. You know, just to be considerate of people that haven't played the game. But yeah, you probably know what I'm talking about. So, and at number 3, Yakuza Like a Dragon. So, this is basically the first Yakuza with a new protagonist, that being Ichiban Kasuga, also with a drastically and very controversial decision to totally change the genre from a beat 'em up to a RPG, which personally rubbed me the wrong way, ruffled my feathers a bit, not gonna lie. I mean, if you've listened to some of the previous episodes where we talked about this game, yeah, so, you know, but I do have to say, with all that in mind, I mean, one of the strongest aspects of Yakuza is the side stories, as well as the general mainline story itself, mini games, which this game definitely delivered on for sure. The combat, I mean, it is definitely good, but I still would want and am curious of the previous you know, what this game would have been if it was an actual beat 'em up, which is kind of always in the back of my head when I play this game, which I feel like is somewhat of a detriment to the game for me personally. But I mean, I played it through. I played it, did some of the extra stuff. I did all the side quests. So I mean, I still enjoyed it for sure. But it's like, at the same time, in the back of my head, I still wished it would have been a beat 'em up still. Which is why Yakuza Like a Dragon is number 3. I do like Ichiban Kasuga though. He's a pretty worthy replacement for Kiryu. I can definitely say that, but let me control him in person. Let me control him, and actively. That's all I ask. Okay, Ryuga Gotoku Studios. Okay, Nashihiro Togoshi, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. That be known. Who am I kidding? He doesn't. What is Tasha here Togoshi? Listen to my podcast. And at number 2. That was cool. I don't know what that was, but that was kind of cool. Final Fantasy VII Remake. This game delivered on so many fronts that I don't even know what to say, man. With, if you overlook the fact that this is not complete technically, but how it ends, without spoiling anything, it definitely opens up a lot of possibilities that I am very excited for sure. But at least it's funny. It's funny too. Now I'm thinking about it, the contrast from Yakuza to Final Fantasy VII. It's like Final Fantasy VII being an actual RPG and being more active versus Yakuza being active and now turn based. That's kind of, I totally just realized that. But either way, and kind of it's funny how that does play out. But either way, that goes to show I love me some active stuff. But even at that point, I mean, even if Final Fantasy VII was a turn based game, I think I still would have liked it just as much. But and there's even that. You even have options for the game if you want to play it at like similar to it being a turn based or being more active, where it kind of gives you a little bit of both. If you wanted that, like some other games, Yakuza. So, but even outside of that, it really delivered from the music to the characters, the designs, the re-envisioned worlds, and how a lot of famous events played out are like how they are now, and seeing it in like high definition and fully upgraded graphics from the old like Polygon PS1 days was definitely great. I did thoroughly enjoy playing the game. It definitely delivered, I feel, from what it did promise, and at least specifically on the angle of this not being fully the whole series, but at least this is definitely a good start of the rest of the series, even though it's technically, I guess, if we want to analyze it in that respect, that what am I thinking of, that it potentially could fall on its face with the sequels or other parts of the game, or whatever that's going to look like, since we don't know what that is, especially considering the ending, which again I won't spoil, but it definitely opens up a lot of possibilities, which it's just very interesting in what that's going to look like for sure. But all in all, at least for this game, what it is, and especially the content, which is like pretty much the content in this game is pretty much literally the same amount of time the actual original game was. So it definitely shows how big of a scale they're trying to make this game be. Which all in all, I think it all definitely worked well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did. So that is why Final Fantasy VII number 2. And for number 1, Streets of Rage 4. I cannot gush enough about this game. How this game 23 years later, this game delivered. This game, it didn't change too much of the Streets of Rage identity, but at the same time iterated upon it to a reasonable amount to expand the game even more, which personally, that's all I wanted. Staying true to the essence of Streets of Rage. You could tell the development team, Guard Crush, what's other people? It was Guard Crush. It was like a joint project amongst three or so companies, but you could tell they really loved, are really big fans of Streets of Rage and beat 'em ups, and it definitely showed with this game. Just the specifically the juggling mechanics, which I am a huge fan of. Any game that got some juggling in it, I'm all in. I'm invested. So that is what this game did. I played this game literally on all platforms and unlocked the characters on all platforms. So that's gotta say something. I literally find myself, if I'm like bored or I'm trying to debate on what I want to play, I will literally play Streets of Rage 4 just to feel something. So that's got to tell you something. But man, just it's great. It's great. They delivered. It's fun, especially the 4-player co-op mode, playing that with friends. That's fun. You know, you could just ridiculously just beat the shit out of people after they've died, you know, on some Soul Calibur shit, but even to a greater extent, which is just great. So it's as a big Streets of Rage 2 fan, it's everything I wanted. It also, from the musical standpoint, it delivered as well. I think maybe, I guess, arguably not as strong as like the previous entries, but it's very competent, if not comparable to a lot of the original Streets of Rage classic tracks. I mean, you even got some songs from the man himself, Yuzo Koshiro. The classic, first track of the game is one of his tracks that is very reminiscent of Ghost Straight from Streets of Rage 2. So, all in all, it definitely satiated as a beat 'em up fan as well. All of my hopes and dreams, and if this game would deliver as a beat 'em up, and I can definitely say it definitely did. And on top of that, there's just some potential content coming out as well. They are all constantly updating the game with patches and different improvements in those aspects as well. So that is why Streets of Rage 4 is
number fucking one.
Play Streets of Rage 4. Just saying. If you haven't, fix that. I mean, if you're a beat 'em up fan, but it's only like what, 4 hours to beat it. It's good. Okay, so those are my top 10 games. I gotta do it.
Top 10 games of 2020.
Hopefully you enjoyed. Got some insight. Maybe want to play some of these. Maybe you haven't. Maybe I nudged you to play something. I don't know. Moving on. Games I've been playing. Like I mentioned, my top 10 games. Yakuza Like a Dragon. I finished it last weekend. It is not to retread on what I said before, but definitely worthy character, Ichiban Kasuga, and the story is very good, pretty satisfying towards the end. For those that know, for those that may know, Joel Mon is back, which is pretty dope. Look into that more if you want, but I'm not gonna say how. But that was all. That was one big curiosity I had outside of some other ones, which I won't spoil as well. But it definitely pays if you are a fan of the previous Yakuzas. There is a fair amount of fan service in this one. I could confidently say that without spoiling too much. There is some pretty good fan service. It's a pretty good fan service. That's all I'm gonna say. But again, my biggest gripe with this is I wish it was a beat 'em up still. But you know what? We'll see. We'll see what happens with the next one. They said they are working on the next one, so we'll see what that looks like. And then Cyberpunk 2077. Have been playing that lately. I am playing on PC. I have with a RTX 3090 with a i7-7700K CPU. All in all, I've been able to play it like 4K 60 FPS for the most part. It feels pretty smooth with pretty much everything high ultra. So yeah, haven't had any issues, major issues, just some weird glitches here and there. It was like a dude that was just shaking on the top of a car, looking at me, staring at me creepily, stuff like that. Some occasional guns and stuff floating in the air. But outside of that, pretty playable. I can definitely say it is overwhelming in some cases. It just seems like a lot to take in, which is it's the first time I've not felt that in a game before. At least specifically open world, where I've just been overwhelmed on what to want to do. But I am enjoying it. I hear it's short for a open world game where it's only 30 hours, so who knows? I might, considering this will be 2 weeks. Well, it'll be 2 weeks since I talk to you guys again, but I most likely will be done with that by then. So may get some more input thoughts after that. And that's it, gaming wise, really. So just touch on some of the media. I've been watching The Mandalorian. The last episode was pretty good. It was the one with where basically it felt like kind of a filler, but basically it's like you meet the one character, Bill Burr, who was he was one of your renegade crew that turned on you in the last season. You might know what I'm talking about if you saw it, but you get him out of the he was locked up to help you find where Baby Yoda's at, and you basically do that, and then they weirdly just unmask the Mandalorian, and it's weird. I guess I'm kind of confused why they unmask him, because I think that's a part of his I don't know, luster mystery appeal, but I don't know, maybe it brings more power to that, but I don't know. The episode just felt too fillery for me. I don't know. It just felt like it wasn't as necessarily substantial, which maybe that's probably the standard they started having currently, but with some of the really good highs, that I guess just having some lows like this was like, I don't know. So I think the next episode is the last, I would assume, especially before Christmas. So we'll see what happens of that. Attack on Titan, caught up on the last episode, the second episode that dropped. Pretty good. It seems like I'm not reading the manga. I feel like what they're doing is trying to. I feel like a lot of media has done this where they flip the script and make it seem like the enemies, or at least what was perceived as the enemies initially, are not, and it's that actually the people that you thought were the good people aren't good. At least that's what it feels like, the angle they're starting to take, but I'm not quite sure yet. But and it is interesting to see the other side, where it's like we didn't know much about the Titans and how they are, and what they were, what they stood for, and the trials and tribulations they're going to on their end, and how these people came to be, and kind of getting more insight in that respect. So I am getting interested in that aspect and seeing what comes of it. And what is gonna happen since it's final season. So it's like it's curious to see how it's gonna play out. Not having read the manga and stuff, but yeah. Outside of that, that's been pretty much it. So that is gonna conclude Switches Sites episode 85. Last episode, guys. It's been real. It's been a fun ride of 2020. I don't know why I keep wanting to like act like this is the last episode ever. No, I do enjoy the show. It's pretty cool to just I don't know, have an outlet more or less about news and stuff, if anything, for me, than the appeal or whatever. But yeah, so thank you for watching as well, listening, watching, however you maybe take in the show. Is always greatly appreciated, of course. We are 25 away from 100, if my math is right. I think it is. Wait. It's not. 15. Yeah, 15. All right. Let's pretend I didn't say that. Let's pretend I just said 15 all along, right? Because I'm not going to edit this out. So now I'm going to look like a buffoon. But it's okay. It's all right. So yeah, again, yeah, if you are listening or have been listening for a while or starting to listen, whatever, it is always appreciated. You know, supporting the show and whatnot. Oh yeah, if you do like the show and like the support, feel free to like, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcasting platforms. If you want to watch this show live, you can watch it on Twitch TV/SaySwitch when I ideally stream it around 4 to 5-ish Pacific, 4 to 5-ish PM. Let me rephrase that because I actually did somewhat stream it pretty super early before, but ideally 4 to 5 PM Pacific. Lost my train of thought, but yeah. Now that my sleeping schedule is somewhat getting a little bit more regular now, I think I can say that now, but you know, now it's gonna be this break, and who knows what's gonna happen. I might get crazy and then, you know, hey, 2 a.m. stream, y'all. It's funny. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, last time I streamed it was like 5 a.m. ish. Now I'm streaming like 5, 6. So, but whatever, it's okay. You know what? You still gonna get the show either way. You know, you still gonna get the show either way. What else? Oh yeah, you can also catch archives of this show if you want to see me in all my ugliness on youtube.com/SaySwitch as well. I upload my archives of this show there as well. And if I ever get back to streaming games again, you know, there as well as Twitch also. So outside of that, that's pretty much it. It's the wrong pretty much it, guys. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate a holiday, enjoy the time off. Yeah, also here's to a happy new year. Hopefully a much better COVID-less new year and people not killing themselves and stuff. So, you know, there's that. But as well, you know, hope everybody stays safe and doesn't die. And yeah, until next time, don't cough. Don't touch people that don't want to be touched. Get your game on. Oh yeah. Nobody's safe.